Wisconsin. This is a team that's talked about a lot in the offseason because Luke Fickell could be a guy. Did a fantastic job at Cincinnati. Everyone knows that. Took the first G5 team to the playoffs. They did lose some key guys though. Graham Mertz. I'm just kidding. That's not a key loss.
See ya.
I'm just kidding, guys. He
Gonna
stinks.
miss
All
you,
right.
Graham. Gonna miss you, Graham.
Yeah, Minnesota fans everywhere are gonna miss you.
Thanks
Uh,
for the axe.
Joe, 2 times. Joe Tippmann was a very good center for them. He's gone. I think their biggest loss in their team was Keanu Benton. I know you think Nick Herbig is an even bigger loss for them, but
Regardless, the fact that that's 2 big losses on that defense, which the defense has been the staple for Wisconsin for a while now. No Jim Leonard too.
yep. So my thought, they get some guys. Their offensive line could be pretty decent. Hunter Wooler in the secondary is pretty solid. Braylon Allen. Obviously, what's it going to look like in this Phil Longo offense? There's a guy, Phil Longo. They added Phil Longo. They're hoping to spice up this offense a little bit. I look at 8.5 and I say, I don't know. So I don't lean either way. I think this could be a really good season for them based on their schedules. Pretty favorable. But I could also see, maybe Phil Longo's offense not necessarily translating with Tanner Mordecai, even though it really should. Tanner Mordecai in the spring game looked pretty terrible. That's not a secret. But I do think he's going to be better than what we saw in the spring game. I don't know. I just think there's just too many question marks for me to actually take a side on this one. What are your thoughts?
I'm not gonna bet it because I know Wisconsin will come back to haunt me, but I'll lean the under here for sure. I don't see what all the fuss is about Wisconsin. Bottom line, to win in the Big Ten, you have to have a good defense. You have to have a good running game, and I think their O line is kind of a question mark, and I think their defense is an even bigger question mark. How you're replacing Jim Leonard? Your front seven is gonna be light, and in November and late October in the Big Ten, that's not a formula for success at all. You talk about Herbig, we talked about Keanu Benton. They brought in a guy, Darren Varner from Temple, that they like to be a defensive end, but he doesn't really excite you that much. A defensive tackle, they're pretty old, but they're also inexperienced, and they're kind of small. They're kind of going to switch, to a lighter, nickel defense, which is fine in this day of age in college football, but also you still have to stop the run. And I don't know. We'll see.
I think I'm a little bit
Well,
higher on their offensive line than you are. I think it's gonna be a pretty okay offensive line. I think. Look, Phil Longo can run the ball. He's done it before. I think last year they didn't really do it a whole lot. When you're in the situation that he was in, where you're forced to score every single possession and at a rapid rate, I mean,
that's
gotta do
true.
what you gotta do. But he could run the ball. I do think it is gonna be different trying to throw the ball all over the yard in late November, right? I mean, you get uh Northwestern at home in early November.
Madison, Wisconsin.
In
Oof.
Madison, you get Nebraska in Madison in cold weather, and then you go to Minnesota to try to get the axe back in more cold weather in November. So it's like we've seen Ohio State struggle last year against Northwestern. We talked about how terrible that team is. I mean, they struggled against Northwestern throwing the ball in what was pretty terrible weather, even for Chicago. But for Madison, I mean, it just gets worse. It just gets worse when you go to Madison, when you go to Minnesota. So I think it could be. I do think they upgraded at a lot of positions, though. I do think Luke Fickell, I trust him. I trust his coaching staff that he brought in. You don't need to tell me the names that Luke Fickell brought in. I just trust him, right?
Yeah. He's earned that right, for sure.
He's earned that right for sure. So I think they're out of conference is definitely manageable. But so I don't lean it. I'm trying to talk myself into leaning over, but I still think I'm just gonna like hang out and be cool at 8.5. I think that's a good line. I do think the defense though is kind of a big question mark.
Well, it's not that I don't believe in Luke Fickell, because I do. I think him and Phil Longo and whatever they're going to do at Wisconsin, scares the shit out of me. It absolutely does. As a Minnesota fan, right? I think I absolutely believe in Luke Fickell, his vision, overhauling Wisconsin. He still wants to keep that nitty gritty Wisconsin culture, intact, like they've always had there and had success with. But I think to overhaul that roster, I think people did not appreciate how poorly Paul Chryst left that roster in. I do not think he was very good. I think he plugged some holes. Jake Renfro he brought in from Cincinnati. It's a good one. Joe Huber too. I'm sorry. Jake Renfro's from Cincinnati too.
Yeah, he's from
And so is Joe
Cincinnati.
Huber. Both of them are. But I don't know. Tanner Mordecai, I think, is fine. Does he fit in Phil Longo's scheme? We'll see. He didn't play well in the spring, but obviously he'll get better in the summer and fall. If he goes down, they're kind of in trouble though. But Braden Lockheed is actually, kind of fine from Mississippi State. He comes in there.
You don't like Nick Evers?
Not yet. I think he's a good, talented player, but I think Braden Lockheed outperformed him from whatever thing I'm hearing and reading about. Lockheed, it was really, really productive for, a second-year guy coming into a new system. Again, I just don't think that with this roster, you can win a ton of games in the Big Ten West, which I know is not saying much, but I look at the defense and it just scares me. It does scare me.
Yeah, I think they could be fine. I do. I think the biggest loss of defense, well, aside from Count Events and Nick Herbig, is Jim Leonard.
That's what I'm saying.
So, I'm with you. I do like the linebackers. I kind of don't hate the secondary. So, I'm a little bit more optimistic than you. But again, not taking it.